In this video, let us discuss Article 19 of Indian Constitution, that is right to freedom. Article 19 guarantees to all citizens the six rights. These rights are right to freedom of speech and expression, right to assemble peacefully and without arms, right to form associations or unions or cooperative societies, right to move freely throughout the territory of India, right to reside and settle in any part of territory of India, right to practice any profession in any part of the territory of India. These six rights are only for citizens and not to foreigners. These six rights are protected against only state actions and not private individuals. These powers are not absolute. That means the state and central government can impose reasonable restriction on exercise of the freedom of speech and expression on the grounds of sovereignty and integrity of India, security of the state, friendly relation with the foreign state, public order, decency or morality, contempt of court, defamation and incitement to an offense. Freedom of speech and expression. It implies that every citizen has a right to express his view, opinion, belief and conviction freely by word of mouth, writing, printing, picturing or any other manner. The state can impose reasonable restrictions on grounds of sovereignty and integrity of India, security of state, public order, contempt of court, decency or morality, defamation and incitement to an offense. In simpler terms, right to freedom of speech and expression does not mean to defame others. It does not amount to freedom of speech. Supreme Court held that freedom of speech and expression includes right to propagate one's view as well as others, freedom of press, freedom of commercial advertisements, right against tapping of telephonic conversations, right to telecast, freedom of silence, right against imposition of pre-censorship on a newspaper, right to demonstration, freedom of assembly. Every citizen has the right to assemble peacefully and without arms. It includes the rights to hold public meeting, demonstration and take out procession. But these rights should be within the law, and the state can impose reasonable restriction on two grounds, namely sovereignty and integrity of India and public order. A magistrate can restrain an assembly, meeting or procession if there is a risk of obstruction or danger to human life under section 144 of Criminal Procedure Code. Assembly of 5 or more persons becomes unlawful under section 141 of IPC, that is Indian Penal Code, if the object is to resist the execution of any law, to commit any mischief or trespass, to threaten the government or its official on exercising lawful power. Freedom of association. Every citizen have the right to form association or unions or cooperative societies and to form political parties, companies, societies, clubs, trade unions. Reasonable restriction can be imposed on the grounds of sovereignty and integrity, public order and morality. The right to strike can be controlled by an appropriate industrial law. The Supreme Court held that the trade unions have no guaranteed right to effective bargaining or right to strike or right to declare a lockout. Freedom of movement. Every citizen can move freely throughout the territory of the country. That is, can move from one state to another and move from one place to another place within the state. The reasonable restrictions on this freedom are two, namely the interest of the general public and protection of interest of any scheduled tribe. The entry of outsiders in tribal areas is restricted to protect the distinctive culture and language customs. The freedom of movement has two dimensions: internal, moving inside the country, and external, right to move to other country and right to come back. Article 19 protects only first instance, not the second one, in case of Article 19. Freedom of residence. Every citizen has the right to reside and settle in any part of the territory of the country. This right has two parts: The right to reside in any part of the country, which means to stay at any place temporarily. The right to settle in any part of the country, which means to set up a home or domicile at any place permanently. The state can impose reasonable restrictions on the grounds, namely interest of the general public and protection of interest of any scheduled tribe. The right of outsiders to reside and settle in tribal areas is restricted to protect the distinctive culture, language and customs. Freedom of profession. Every citizen has the right to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade, business. The state can impose reasonable restriction on the exercise of this right in the interest of the general public. The state is empowered to prescribe professional or technical qualification necessary for practicing any profession or carrying on any occupation, trade or business. No objection can be made when the state carries on a trade, business, industry or service either as a monopoly to the exclusion of citizens or in competition with any citizen. The state is not required to justify its monopoly. The right does not include the right to carry on profession or business or trade that is immoral, that is trafficking in human, women or children, or dangerous, harmful drugs or explosives. The state can absolutely prohibit this or regulate them through licensing. Case law. Case law 1. Free expression cannot be equated or confused with the license to make unfounded and irresponsible allegations against the judiciary. Radha Mohan Lal versus Rajasthan High Court 2003.